Double the cup, I'm pouring that shit. I'm fucking it up, it's pornographic. She can't afford the plastic, she push it up. If she wonder about my past, she can look it up. I got a big network, but it's not Google. Got a small net worth, watch it quadruple. My father taught me a lot, that's how I got frugal. Spend $1 and you got a lot of ramen noodles. It's loopholes in this game that you better learn. Get up early when it rains and you get a worm. Throwing dirt on my name is throwing gas on a flame. Just let it burn till it turn to ash, then get a urn. I never been concerned with the afterlife. You acting like buying ghosts, bring you back to life. Illuminati, I'm the goat they wanna sacrifice. They say you only live once, but this happened twice. I think it's deja vu, yeah. It could be deja vu, yeah. Some people pray I lose, they don't like the way I talk, the way I move, yeah. I think it's deja vu, yeah. It could be deja vu, yeah. Some people hate on you, but good thing you not them and they not you. I got 15 minutes till the edibles kick in. I'ma get fried like the General's chicken. Finger licking, I'm wing picking. I'll take 6 ring pippin', the team clicking. I got a new game plan, a new strategy. I keep going like the rabbit with the batteries. I'm with a baddie and she grabbing my anatomy. I split the check and had to leave, now she mad at me. I've been there, I've done that. Fun fact, I'm putting numbers on the board like a thumbtack. Cal coming back like cowboy running backs. Ooh, I need a couple hundred stacks. If you can do the math, that's a couple M's. Pockets fat like twins who got double chins. Big plates, they should probably hit the fucking gym. Nobody shaming, that's just what it is. I think it's deja vu, yeah. It could be deja vu, yeah. Some people pray I lose, they don't like the way I talk, the way I move, yeah. I think it's deja vu, yeah. It could be deja vu, yeah. Some people hate on you, but good thing you not them and they not you. Deja vu, it's feeling like deja vu. It's feeling like deja vu. It's feeling like deja vu, yeah. Deja vu, it's feeling like deja vu. It's feeling like deja vu. It's feeling like deja vu, yeah.
Hey, love! Yo, Amy! George, stop. I'm now never not covered in coconut oil. Good to know, Nelson Mandela. Let's see if I'm live yet. Everyone's talking about oiling themselves up here. Hi, everybody. What's going on? I like seeing your conversation. You guys were having a very nice conversation this morning. You guys were talking about the wonders of coconut oil on the skin. I actually have castor oil right now on my skin. It's great. Welcome. I hope you all had a great Easter. I had a wonderful Easter. Today is episode 800. Author James True discusses mass mind control with me. And we're texting this morning. He's got some really profound theories. An unexpected man shows some character and highlights of my Easter. I hope you all had a wonderful Easter. I'll show you a few pictures of my Easter, and then I will call James. No more worms. Good for you, Bad Skin Bear. Hi, everyone. Charlie looks so damn cute yesterday. Yeah, Amy, you know, we had all our family over at Ursa Manor, and Amy dressed up Wally, because Wally loves, you know, dressing up in nice dapper clothes. And then Charlie went into his room and found his bow tie and came out and just went, ah! And so we put him in a bow tie. And yes, he obviously looks like Winston Churchill. I'm trying to not compare him to Churchill too much because I don't want to get him a complex that he looks like a genocidal madman. But it's complete. You'll see. I'm about to show you guys. And I'm going to call. I have a lot for you guys today, by the way. But so here is a young Winston. I mean, that's a young Winston Churchill yesterday at Easter offering a egg to the bunnies. I mean, that's just a candid shot. Like, that wasn't planned. That wasn't like, hey Charlie, let's put Charlie in a bow tie and have him hold it. Dude, I was just sitting there, and I just look over, and I see my son holding an Easter egg to the. I'm just like, click. None of these are planned shots, guys. This is not like This is not. This is candid shots at my house. Okay, here's another one. Dude, this is just my house. Yeah, what someone just said, I just broke up with my girlfriend. That's all right. Good for you. That's James True's bass, legendary streaming. Oh, guys, you guys are in for it. He's a very, very smart man. Okay, so here is a young Winston Churchill being followed by a chicken. And then, if you were to pan out a little bit, you'd see Winston Churchill following 2 baby goats. And so he was so moved by the experience that he took his hat off. The only other time he ever did that was when he bombed Dresden. Again, I'm not going to keep this theme going after today, because I don't want my son associated with the bombing of Dresden. Hey chickens, I got some chickens behind me. BB, I got sucked into fear porn for about a week only to find out you were right again, batting 1,000, 998% at worst. No, it's 1,000, Grand Bear. All right, and then when I'm with Walter, you can see a young Winston Churchill following us. By the way, that's my dapper outfit. The best I can go with is pretty much a vest. All right. Just a couple other highlights. This is, I don't know if reality is, or God is winking. Yeah, God's winking. Well, God's always winking. I have a new theory about how you know which path you're on in life. Like, does what you ask for get returned ironically and very torturously, or in like a really beautiful way? That's why I believe I'm on the right path with my family and with God and everything, because that's a decent way to try and figure it out. Like Jimmy Fallon wanted to be the most known guy in all of late night. Now he's the most known homo. You are pathetic, Jimmy Fallon. You did not read your terms and conditions. You know, I think that's a good test. Anyway, because this is just too ridiculously funny. Coronavirus, Oakville, Ontario. Family hit with $880 ticket after going rollerblading. So, guys, we have another rollerblading incident. All right. I am going to quickly address some character I saw in an old buddy. As you guys remember, Sabo, he is a street artist. And I thought we were cool. We used to text a lot. I thought he was a cool guy. And then he came out and said that I was an anti-Semite and insane. And I was secretly working for CAA, my old agency in Hollywood. Okay, Sabo just made it right. Because this is the thing, I'm not going to hold a grudge against the guy, because I think that he believed that about me. I think that what I was saying was blowing his mind to a degree where I must have been crazy. And so he just posted this today. Or no, that's a different one. Hang on, let me just read this real quick. Kyneson sent me this. Remember when the sodomites in LA called Owen crazy for moving to a homestead so he could grow his own food? Who knew that a guy who studied authoritarian takeovers in college and had a huge career translating human behavior into comedy could see this coming? Right, and guys, I get it. This is why I'm like, I hold no grudge against Sabo, because this is a really cool piece of art. He said, how are those cities working out for you? And he highlighted lies and cities. Hard fought Ursa Manor, and he highlighted your man. And then in all caps, which is very neocon, I really hope that he gets a handle on that. But he said, Owen Benjamin, socially distanced for his beliefs for his comedy, became his greatest punchline. Cool. I got no hard feelings for the dude, because here's the thing. If you do stuff like this and you make it right without because he's not going to get anything from me. I'm not going to be like, all right, Sabo, here's some money and a gun. No, this is just for his character. And this shows me his character, which is good. Dude, people are wrong all the time. It's, are you lying? Like, are you under the machine's control? Are you under the dragon's wing? Like, are you parroting what will give you back, endocrine responses. That's what me and James are about to talk about. But this is cool, and I'm glad to see this. I'm glad to see, and by the way, guys, if tomorrow he says I'm crazy again, and people are like, "Oh my God, Owen, you should never have trusted him. You must be humiliated." No, I won't. I'll be like, "Oh, he's wrong again." Hopefully, he comes back to the reality. But good on Sabo. And I also recorded my morning routine again. After I talked to James, I'll show you guys that. Good man, Sabo, mistakes from him. Right. Well, it shows that he's a living man. People that can't, like in his world, admitting that I was right can cost you dopamine. James True has been talking about this for a while now, and I'm going to put up his picture here. One of our listeners sent me this. She really enjoyed one of James's streams. Humanity is not a virus. And James was talking a lot about alchemical transmutation of spells. It's really good stuff, guys. Hey, love, what are you up to? Oh, cool. Like, for example, I didn't come up with this. A bear sent me this in an email. So instead of social distancing, say social media distancing. Because what it does is it takes the machine's branding, the machine's spell, and it makes it the opposite. It turns it good with just one little thing. And he's been having people handwrite "humanity is not a virus" on these big Corona posters, because it takes the whole thing and makes it the opposite. It's like judo. It's energy redirection. Because you can't just go at it. The machine is huge. Slow moving, empty, vacant nonsense. All right, so I only have audio on my Skype, so I'm going to leave this up because that's a really cool statement to say, humanity is not a virus. And we're talking this morning about how the masks are to hide shame. Some really intense stuff. Mistakes are missed takes. Wow, you genius, Bear. You really just blew everyone's mind. All right. Let me give James a call here. There we go. Are you out there, James? Can you hear me? There we go. James True.
Oh, what's up, man?
What's going on, man? It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Oh, absolutely. Feelings mutual. Thanks for having me.
Oh, totally. You were, and you just texted me at 9:11 a.m. that your power just went out. I was like, whoa, that's intense.
It just came back on a minute ago, so we're back, man.
Oh, dude, I love it.
Brought it back.
And I love that you're capable of doing like good off-the-cuff streams. Like you don't have that hesitation that some people do, where it's like, well, what are we going to talk about? You're just like, yeah, let's crush.
Yeah, it never works. Yeah, whenever someone goes, I'd like to talk about this, that never freaking happens. So I just stopped doing it. I stopped making promises, It's like a jam band.
Right, yeah. It's like, don't stop the riff. I'm finished. I got to play a 40-minute version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow or else I can't squirt.
That's me, man. I'm a 40-minute long guitar solo. It's kind of a pain in the ass sometimes.
No, dude, I get it. I'll riff on the same 2 Pink Floyd songs every single night for hours for years.
Exactly.
Exactly. I was just listening to one of your streams while I was like doing errands and stuff today, and you told the story of your dad, and I just thought it would be a great way to start. It was the Perseus. Did you come up with that? The Perseus syndrome? Was that, what's the name of that?
Well, I'm trying to remember exactly which story we're talking about.
We're talking about how it was like spiritual usury, where you're promised hero status before you fight the demon. Yeah, you want to just tell that story?
Great. So like think about Medusa, right? It's like, hey y'all, there's this evil lady, and we want to kill her, and we need one of you guys to kill her. Hey Perseus, here's some golden shoes for killing her, and here's a golden shield for killing her. And here's a golden helmet for killing her.
Yeah.
And send in the flappers. Women, suck this man's cock deeply. and you end up in this, like, what are you going to do now? Like, how do you come back without her head? How do you even live anymore? when you've tasted life on that pedestal, and you're forced into it. You really have no choice. And that's what we do to our military, because it's like, and I've seen this firsthand where someone will go, "Thank you for your service," and I'll stop them and I'll say, "Excuse me, do you know what I did?" And they're like, "No." And I'm like, "Well, then what are you thanking me for?" "Well, I'm thanking you for your service." What if I told you that we burnt down oil fields and killed villages and set shit on fire and basically shot camels in the head all day? What would you say? Thank you for your service. Why? Why are you thanking me for doing something evil or satanic? Why are you doing that? Hey man, look, I don't want to hear crap from you, okay? I'm just here to thank you for your service. And what he's doing is he's literally soothing himself in front of me.
Yeah.
He's saying, hey, look, the entire world's great as long as you perform procedures, satanic procedures, without asking any questions. And I'm going to buy you fucking dinner right now. And I'm going to go home and feel better about myself. I'm going to go home and feel how patriotic I am, because I told you thank you for your service. Yeah. And even if you tell someone what really goes on in the military, which by the way, I was not a Marine. I'm relaying another story. I was actually in Navy. It was a much more pathetic story about what I did in the Navy. But the point is that it's the same kind of usury that we're putting on each other. There's a reason why. Think about it. You could be white, you could be male, you can have a fucking Hitler haircut, and no one's going to call you toxically masculine if you're wearing a uniform. Then you're a hero. That's the only time a white male is allowed to be a hero, if he's out there performing Satanism with a gun.
And your dad, and you were, that really hit home with me. You were saying that you didn't get to know your dad because he served and he lost his leg, and he had this hero debt that was never given back to him, so it made him very bitter. Yeah.
It's made so much of us bitter, and it's skewered my family. My brother followed in his footsteps, a real proud Marine, but absolutely kind of really can't handle the stuff that comes out of my mouth right now, as far as like what I saw in the military. You're locked into the trauma. And what really causes that inflammation, what really makes you, it's like a shellac, Owen. It's like they wait for you to be in trauma, then they dip you in fucking shellac and they polish it. They polish it like fancy amber. And then they walk it around on a pedestal all day and everyone goes, "Oh, you're so brave." It's like the worst possible thing you could ever do to somebody.
Oh, dude, you're describing Hollywood, man. And I really wanted to have you on and become your buddy and everything, because what you were describing, you did it in a way that I think I could explain it better to people that didn't understand what I was saying. When I talk about some of my extremely famous pedestal friends that became so weak and vacant, and you explained why, this Perseus syndrome, the golden child, where it's like you get them in a state where they need the approval so that they will do anything you want. And a lot of the biggest names, the biggest faces in this world have been so elevated they can't go back anymore. Like they can't say, some do though. But the irony is you don't hear their name anymore because they're not fed the prana. And so I know people that I'm like, dude, and I know you face the same thing where I'm texting people with big audiences. I'm like, you got to get the word out about this virus stuff, this pandemic, and just crickets. And then there's these weird breaks in the matrix where when this all first happened, they all hit me up like, dude, you were right. Oh my God. Another traumatic effect almost gets the shellac off them for a second, and then it's just reapplied,
Absolutely. Well, let's even look at the anatomy of Satanism itself. Of Hollywood itself. When you go to Hollywood, so like your name is an energetic field, and the first thing you do when you go to Hollywood is you sacrifice your name. You take your identity out back and you shoot it in the head, and you say, "I'm sorry, but it's worth it. I'm no longer going to be Ingrid or Sven. I'm going to be John Toll Lance or whatever the fuck. So you shed your identity as
Tom
a part
Cruise.
of initiation. And then after you shed your identity, you get on the casting couch, and then you shed your core. You do something shameful in exchange for, you're showing your willingness to sacrifice to something. And that's what the casting couch is. It's a ritual. Those rituals get worse the higher up you go in Hollywood. Those rituals, you get into a Rogan territory where it's like you need to kiss the starfish. And if you guys don't know what the starfish is, be thankful. be very...
I don't know what that starfish is.
Starfish is the eye inside the taint. And Joe Rogan had to kiss that in order to sit on his throne. It's part of the... Think about Fear Factor.
Right.
What is the show Fear Factor, Owen? I mean, you know this, but it's a satanic ritual of rape. You're raping your dignity for fiat cash in front of millions of people. Joe is reliving his own trauma on television and getting fame for it. He's becoming famous for recreating what he had to do. Every time he watches someone else eat a scrotum or whatever, what he's doing is feeling better about himself. Yep. He's soothing the starfish ceremony that he had to go through. And as you progress up Hollywood, you're doing more and more. This is why Spielberg had the NAMBLA flick, you know, where it was like, milk of magnesia, dude, I am ready.
Right.
In me, you know?
Yeah.
It's the same kind of ritual. It's your willingness to sacrifice yourself to this machine. That literally is the anatomy of Satanism. And that pervades Hollywood, politics, military, medicine, ties, anything with a uniform. Anybody who has a uniform or a title next to their name has technically succumbed in some way to this ritual. They have traded in their life force for a credential, for the power of a credential, which is just a spell on paper. That's all an ID is, or a diploma is. It's a fucking spell on a sheet of paper.
Yeah, and also, but it's also different magnitudes and different scales. It's almost like one person has a real small mortgage, another person is like $2 million in debt for like fucking boats and sea-doos and shit. And those are the ones that will do anything they're told, you know? Because I've never been on a casting couch. I missed that whole thing. I think I was a weird crack in the matrix that they didn't expect because of stand-up and because of, like, for example, my full name is Owen Benjamin Smith, and I became Owen Benjamin because there was an Owen Smith, and he was already in SAG. So it wasn't, I was like, no, I want to be Owen Smith, and it was like, oh no, Owen Smith is Owen Smith. And that became this like turf beef. It wasn't like, you are now Owen Benjamin. And so oddly, some of these people thought that I was like, might have been like Jewish or something because I had this Benjamin last name. And all my friends kept putting me in stuff. I've never got anything from a casting session. Like, I've never went in somewhere and been like, what's your starfish, bro? And so I kept my mana in a lot of these situations. In fact, I think it grew in a lot of ways because, you know, I was approved at the Improv because I was a busboy and I just made a lot of friends with people and I just started my own show at midnight that didn't exist so I could fill it with dudes I knew from the restaurant. And then people almost, some of these like mana freaks, some of these like hyenas would be attracted to somebody that was still alive, you know? And so, and then when the machine caught up to my morality, which was transgender children, I was like, no. And then that awakens everything. You know, you're in this weird lazy river that you don't even realize you're on. You know, it's just the pan flute playing. And then when it stops, you're like, everybody looks at you like, you don't belong here. And then they rip at your name. They try and pull everything. But they didn't have any blackmail on me because I was always myself. So, you know, they would be like, oh, Owen was with a lot of women. Owen got in a fight with his girlfriend. I'm like, yeah, I've done sets on that. Yeah, I know. And they're like, Owen used to drink a lot. Owen. I'm like, yeah. My special was called High Five Till It Hurts. And they're like, oh, shit, we didn't get this one.
Yeah. Well, it's not even a crack. Like, I would say that's just the system itself, and you would only ever be able to progress to a certain point. That was the trans children point.
Right.
And then you're never going to go any further. It's like I was in the Navy. I went in as an E3. That's like your ranking, how well you've done. And then I left 6 years later as a combat veteran with no marks against me as an E3. It's like it shows you that I just physically wasn't able to progress. And guys, I want to clarify, this is not me being all like brave and defiant and shit. When I was in the Navy, I was seriously trying as hard as I could to do a good job.
Dude, me too. That was me in Hollywood. Like, yeah. Dude, that's why I relate so much to you, man. Our resonances are hitting. It's because when you were saying that, I'm like, I wanted people to like me. You know, you were saying that you have like social autism where you'll say something. It's like me. You'll say something and you have no idea what response is going to get. You're like, dude, how does no one not see this? And people are like, how dare you? You know, from their pits. They're like, you should be ashamed. Your wife's going to leave you. And I'm like, dude, Dan Crenshaw is a one-eyed wheatus. and it's like, and people's, and sometimes I feel weird when people call me brave and all that stuff, where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why people are reacting like this.
Yeah, the bravest guy on the battlefield is the naive guy whose helmet is kind of pushed down below his eyes.
Right.
And he's like running out into the middle with a sword, but he's holding it sideways. And he's like, I'm coming, wait for me. And everyone's like, he's charging. Oh my God, look at him, go. That's how all it is. It's all about that, man. And think about it. When you're a hero in the military, what are you really? But you've evacuated yourself so much to where you just don't fucking care. The most dangerous person on the military field is the berserker. They've entered into a state where death and life are the same thing. That you become the action. You're no longer a noun, you're a verb. And that becomes necessary as you evacuate yourself to the procedure of what you're doing. That's why you can give vaccines. That's why you can chop off someone's dick. That's why you can sue someone to hell. That's why you can go behind the casting couch. That's why you can kiss the starfish. It's at that point, you've evacuated yourself. It's evil is not about being evil. Evil is about being lack. It's the lack of humanity. All of evil is nothing more than a vacuum, a black hole of humanity. It's not like this pushing positive force of evil. There's not like a red devil. It's the absence of anything that's alive. It's the absence of humanity.
Yeah, people want to understand it. Just listen to NASA. NASA's describing a world of like the vacuum is what the evil is. It's the absence of energy. It's the absence of humanity. It's yeah, exactly what you're talking about. And that's what I think NASA's trying to sell to us. It's like you're spinning out of control in eternal emptiness. And it's like, bitch, it doesn't look like I'm spinning. It's like, how dare you hiss? You know, I'm like, fuck you.
Yep. Yeah, that's the shame of vortex or the vacuum of space. And think about it, your voice, your two towers, your vocal cords are your two towers. Like we have two towers too. And NASA's told you that your voice will never, ever, ever reach God because it's lost in a vacuum where there's no sound. There's no medium for it to even travel in. This is all part of the spell of basically circumcising you spiritually. It's a complete attack from every side, physically, spiritually, mentally, all of it.
Yeah, and also the thing that makes circumcision so procedurally bad. And by the way, guys, if you circumcised your kids, just acknowledge it's bad and move on. I didn't circumcise my kids. I'm not circumcised, but I did vaccinate them because I thought it was the right move at the time. Don't let the shame hold you down. You know, that's a control mechanism. But it's the pointlessness of it. You know, it's the deeper in the machine you go, the more the storyline is nonsense. You know, like if you don't clip your kid's dick, they're gonna get penis cancer. You know, it's the same with like this COVID-19 stuff. It's like if you don't tank the world's freedom and economy, these old people might die of the sniffles that we're gonna die. Like, you know, it's just the story is absurd. And you know, I think as we progress, and I do believe that it's like the two towers, like things are splitting where it's like people are either becoming more free or more full of this fame and shame dynamic.
Yep.
It's getting more absurd. It's almost like a spiral or a music algorithm that's going, like the differences keep magnifying until it's like, if you don't chop off your dick, we can't stop rape. You know? And you're like, no. And the real N-word is no, you know?
Well, what you're watching happen in real time. Oh, wait, I got to turn my heater off because the power came back on. Sorry if you can hear that. Just give me a sec.
Oh, no worries. I like the gentle hum.
What's happening in real time is a Jacob's ladder. If you guys can picture what a Jacob's ladder looks like, it's two long, an anode and a cathode, you know, two long pieces of metal, and you're watching the electricity ride up that ladder. It climbs slowly, slowly, slowly. It's raising to the top, and finally there's nowhere else for it to go, and it spark gaps. You see the electricity connect between it. That's what they're doing to us with the two towers. That's what shame and fame is all about.
Yeah.
Hollywood is fame, and media is shame. Like, media is supposed to tell you how shitty you are. Hollywood's supposed to tell you how great you could be if you were one of us.
Right.
It's the polarity of the anode and the cathode, and that's where you do magic. You take that power, that exchange between the two, and you create the spark gap, and you redirect that energy somewhere.
Yeah, or and just rounding it. You know, it's I love that you have the humanity is not a virus. Like, I was working on a transmuting grounding thing that I don't know if I texted you or not, but social media distancing, because you don't want to just go right head to head on it. You want to redirect, where it's like, you know, take their branding and redirect it. Say, oh, I'm practicing social media distancing. I only hang out in groups. You know, and that people just be like, what? You know, it's like the Judeo-Christian Holocaust. You know, just weird shit like that can really like take these electrical spells and just throw them right back into the ground. And what I like about you is, although sometimes you do really escalate, you're like, dude, I'm telling you today, it's all going down, and then it doesn't go down, but I respect your balls. But
yeah,
it's like
LA's Eric Garcetti. He is starting a policy where you can actually get paid to snitch on your neighbor. He wants to report violators of the stay-at-home order. This is a tactic of Soviet Russia. This is a tactic of communist states. This is a tactic of Nazi Germany. Neighbors watching out for neighbors. Now, if I was to see two neighbors hug each other, the mayor of the city that I live in wants me to snitch on them and then get a reward for it. Think how insane that is.
If you've observed recurring violations of the safer at home order, please continue to let us know at coronavirus.lacity.org/business violation.
okay.
You know the old expression about snitches? Well, in this case, snitches get rewards. We want to thank you for turning folks in and making sure we are all safe.
Well, as a writer and a comedian myself, it drives me insane that he didn't use snitches get riches. It rhymes! But what I see Dave Rubin doing is taking his audience, putting them in a little tiny box, and saying, just keep saying, I mean, back in my day, I mean, this is Soviet Russia. I mean, so what do? You know, and I talk about homesteading and I talk about growing stuff, and he has no interest in having me on to actually help people not starve to death. Instead, he just wants to keep feigning just this victim, and he's rewarded for that. All his little neocon baby boomer buddies will just keep sending him money and approval, saying, that's right, Dave. I mean, who could stand for this behavior? And I'm like, okay, you're just gonna keep doing that weird electrical circuit right off a cliff. Start telling people how to grow food, how to mentally get yourself out of a victim cycle so that you can actually stand your ground and say no. You know, and I'm watching, like, people like that are just as dangerous, if not more dangerous, than a lot of the CNNs of the world, because their audiences genuinely believe that they're doing something. And I'm like, I learned that with Steven Crowder, where he just kept, when he came to me about the trans kid, and I thought that we were buddies and we're like, you know, gonna work together at fighting back on this stuff. And then I found out that it was Teva Pharmaceuticals out of Israel was supplying 100% of the trans hormones for children. And then Crowder no longer wanted to talk to me about it, and then he said that I was a conspiracy theorist. And I'm like, oh, so you have a feeding trough, and this is what you do. And they'll do it to their graves, and they'll just keep going until someone just says, stop teaching people to self-soothe. Because the world is free and beautiful and growing, and these psychopaths can't touch a free man. So it's like, how do you actually empower your audience? Even if your audience shrinks, even if you get less money, you know, it's like sometimes less money is a fucking compliment. I like when people send me silver and seeds. All right, what are your thoughts on this? I'm spiraling.
So I think it's all about soothing, and it's if you're watching a gang of kids beat up another kid, and you don't have the courage to stop it, you have this energy inside you that needs to come out. And the best way that you'll come out without having to spend calories, without having to actually show courage, is to bitch about it with other people. Right. So you find someone and you stare. First you get behind a window so you're safe, and then you point out the window and you go, look at how outrageous this is. And then you have a virtue contest over who's the most outraged
right.
by what's happening. And that is what media is right now. That is what everyone is doing. That's why no one would question who QAnon was when I was saying, why can't we talk about who QAnon is and what their motivation is? That's why SGT Report will not have me on, because I was like, dude, let's talk about who QAnon is. Let's fucking call him out. And it's like crickets. That's why they all run away. The autism comes in when I exposed. I think Steve Bannon is the head of QAnon, and I've got a big outline as far as why. It doesn't even matter if you guys believe it or not, because the point I'm trying to make is that as a social autist, I brought that like I had made the most beautiful cake I'd ever seen in my kitchen, and I brought it outside, and I'm like, guys, look, this cake's healthy. It's got bananas and strawberries. It's fucking good. It's got dark chocolate. Check out this truth. And everyone's like that critic in that movie History of the World, where they just piss on it, because it's like, how dare you ask us to burn calories? How dare you ask us to get up from behind this window and start looking at stuff? Because there's a safety mechanism inside of QAnon, just as there is a safety mechanism inside of this virtue contest to see who's the most outraged by it. It takes your mind completely off the game, and now you're just competing for, who's going to get the most virtue. Yeah. That's literally culture to a T.
Yeah, the QAnon pit that I've seen is who can be more disgusted by pedophilia. Where it's like, did you hear that they ate the baby and then they threw and then they burned it and everyone's like, oh God, can you believe? And I'm like, okay, so what's the plan? So my motto and my test that I always do with myself and other people is I might be wrong, but I'm not lying. So when I hear someone like you say he was Steve Bannon, what I assess with my gut and my instincts is James lying? And if not, I welcome your input, because that's how we grow as, neurons and nerves, that's how we grow as people. If I'm just like, that makes me feel bad, and then just out of me just a whisper, how dare you?
That's what I used to be, like a pinnacle. And I'm sorry to blow my own horn, but seriously, like that was my fame, was James True was a QAnon decoder. And then I started to unravel a long time ago, and I immediately lost like 40% of my audience, and it never came back. And those same people would actually start to create lies to try and cover up things. Like the Satanic Temple is the perfect example. I showed people video that the Satanic Temple on the island was a painted movie set. The dungeon door that they were reporting, that door's got a lock on the outside so no one can get out. It was painted. It was a faux painting, like a Disney painting. And the whole thing was a set. It was supposed to look 3D from the water. If you're out snorkeling in the water, you're looking at it. And it didn't matter how clearly I pointed to the video. It didn't matter how many pictures I showed them with circles and arrows on the back of each one. It didn't matter, because the all-seeing eye, our ability to process what we see is directly related to the amount of dopamine generated by your retinas. What I mean by that is that the pain of the truth, we have a built-in safety mechanism inside of our eyes that will not show us things that our adrenals cannot handle. It's like a clip, on an amplifier. If you're going to play above 11, it's going to blow out.
Yeah.
Your body has this governor on your adrenals where it's not willing to see it. And guys, that's why you hear the word conspiracy theory. These people, believe it or not, these people aren't lying. When they're calling you a conspiracy theorist, what they're doing is they're literally seeing a world in which you are a conspiracy theorist, because that acts as a veil which protects them from the underlying truth of what it is. That's what's happening right now. Our government has been shut down since March 13th. There's not been a presidential seal shown in any press conference since then. We've been sold out. All of our Indian land is now revoked. None of us are allowed to assemble in churches or town halls. None of us are allowed to do anything, and it's causing the denial to come out as a safety mechanism. And that's what you're looking at. You're looking at two factions, two sides of Jacob's ladder. The ones that wear masks, those are the ones that are afraid of the truth of it all, and the ones that want to rip the masks off. That's the Jacob's ladder that they've set up. That's the two towers that they're using right now for this COVID spell.
Yeah, and so what do you see with this? How does someone like me, for example, that is not afraid and doesn't want to wear a mask, what am I doing to contribute to the spell? Like, how can I lower the energy? Because I was thinking that a big problem would be to be disgusted by these people, You know, you got to retap into, I believe you have to retap into they know not what they do, and to not power the Jacob's ladder, because I'm starting to feel that, where I'm like, I see these people in masks and I'm like, what a bunch of termites. You know, I'm using these words in my head where I'm like, oh God, I'm contributing to the dehumanization of a living person. What do you see? What do you see the end game for this, and what do you think would be the best way to not feed the Jacob's ladder?
I only just learned this last night. I'm new to all this, and because I've been the same way, what I've done is I've used shame and fame as a tool to bring people away from the lies.
Me too.
You know,
yeah.
and that's a very effective technique when you're dealing with sheep. But there's a new trick, and that trick only opened up to me really last night, and it's compassion. Compassion is the 9.
Yes.
Compassion is the all power, man. And 11 is the covering up or the destruction of that. What they've done is they've destroyed your compassion with stories like pedophilia in Hollywood and all the other shit they throw at you. Your compassion is the only thing that's going to not stop the Jacob's ladder. It's actually going to do something even better.
Yeah, it magnifies it. Yeah, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just pumped.
It's gonna make that go where you want it to go. And that compassion, that once we start to understand that someone who says conspiracy theory simply doesn't have the electrical field presence to see through the veil, that they've pulled the silk over their own eyes, and it's a safety mechanism. The way to fix that is to get them to relax.
Yes.
All can take a deep breath right now, and you can change the entire rhythm of your body. And when you do that with someone else, only if they're not wearing a mask, it's very important, Owen, only if they're not wearing a mask, if you do that with someone else, you're going to pace them. Same way Donald Trump paces us. I want a wall more than anyone. I want 5G, I want 6G. I want to kill all the terrorists. Any politician paces you. We can pace people too, but with compassion.
Right.
It's a tricky thing. It requires a lot of electricity. It requires a lot of understanding. And this is the magic of Jesus. This is the power of Jesus. It's
right.
The all-seeing, compassionate eye. That's what is going to get us out of this, because someone's going to be freaking out on both sides, aren't they? You're going to be freaking out if you're wearing a mask, and you're going to be freaking out if you're not wearing a mask, right? I've been. And what I'm talking about is something different. It's showing compassion for the blindness that's around both, and truly transmuting the power of the word apocalypse. Apocalypse is a beautiful word.
Exactly. Yes, Dave's true.
I want to have sex with the word after I buy a dinner. I want to raise kids with it. I want to take it onto a farm. I want to do all the things with apocalypse, because it's behold the pale horse, Nantahala, the noonday sun. The pale horse is the high sun of noon. It's showing light on everything, but we've been told it's famine, it's evil, it's destruction. It's all it is uncovering. We should all embrace that with compassion, because if you have nothing to hide, you're going to love things being uncovered.
100%.
And that's what's going to freak people out. In fact, I think that's why people are wearing masks right now. I think that the masks are a sign of shame. People actually have shame electrically, I'm talking about. They have shame built up from their entire life of all the propaganda and bullshit. And we pretend that we're wearing masks because of our reasoning, but your mind is just scaffolding. It's just going to build reasons it's just going to build shit. We need to stop listening to what people say and just follow their energy. And what you're seeing with the mask is people are ashamed of who they are. They're ashamed of the apocalypse. It's like they feel the energy coming, and they're so afraid of it because of the self-hatred that's been injected inside them. Just like a vaccine, just like a virus. It's all the same attack. The attacks are always as above, so below, on every single level. It's the same kind of attack.
Yeah, and they want you to cover up. Yeah, because I've tried the same stuff that you have. Even though the whole virus thing is nonsense, I still try to appeal to it with facts, where it's like, even with their story, a virus is a micron and it spreads 20 feet with a sneeze. A mask doesn't do anything, but they're like, get away from me. And I'm like, oh, this isn't about that. This is about, because I think one of the reasons this whole thing popped off and it started recruiting all the emptiness in people, is because so much was being revealed. People were really, really, really starting to see 9/11, moon landing, Sandy hoax, all this stuff, and they needed a mask. you know? And
Yeah.
so this will really help people with this, because this is my cross to bear too. When I see the mask, it's so easy for me to be like, don't you know what you're doing to my children? But that's Jake. I'm the positive 8 or the negative 8 with absolute value is the same magnitude. So it doesn't matter which direction I go. If I'm feeding that, it feeds the empty vessel. Let me show you another really quick clip. This is, because I also think it's important right now that no matter where you see the truth or where you see strength or courage or grounded men, be like, hell yeah. You know, if Hulk Hogan wants to tweet about how this whole thing is a good way to reconnect, you know, support the Hulkster. Right here we got a bunch of inner city black dudes and a cop, and the black dudes are crushing. Like, watch this. This is comedic. This could really help lower the mask. All right, watch this. Hang on.
Okay, 3/4 of the country is dying. Okay, that's some real. I'm blood. It's real. Okay.
Okay, so here you have a cop who says something that's unbelievably absurd, and the black dudes are just like, ah, and that's so grounding. You know, when I see that, I'm like, yes, because this cop is scared. He's spiraling. He's like, you know, statistics, and it just kind of redirects the whole energy. Like, the black dudes are like the cop loses all their prana, and in that moment, because he's just yelling and spiraling and saying that the sky is falling, and the dudes that just are chilling, not that he's their enemy, but just like, look at this crazy white dude with all his numbers. And here's another quick video. This is Matt from Quantum of Conscience, who's a champ, just posted this. It's only 2 minutes, but this is a great way to visualize what is happening with grains of rice. Here we go. Thanks to Dave. I don't know who Dave is, but just go to Quantum of Conscience.
I'm going to try to put things in perspective here with this big pile of rice. I bought this today. This is roughly 80,000 grains of rice. Okay, so this is about 3 pounds of rice here. So I'm going to have this represent the global population of roughly 8 billion. Okay, so we're going to try to do some math here. We're going to try to put things in perspective. Here we go. Every year, 16 million people die from cardiovascular disease. That's 160 grains of rice. From diarrhea, 16 million. Car accidents, 1.2 million. It's over 3,000 people die every day from car accidents. Suicide, 800,000. All right, now the big one. The one that made us shut down the entire global economy. The one that is affecting all of us, where we have lockdowns and, you know, we've got all these things going on. People getting arrested for playing baseball with their, you know, with their kids over at the park. This is the big one. The one that we all have to be afraid of. 1. Okay, so this giant pile of rice here, the one that represents the global population of 8 billion people, all have to be put on lockdown. All have to have their rights taken away because of that 1 grain of rice. Those 100,000 people, which again, whenever anybody dies, it's sad. But guess what? People die from the flu every year. There's 150,000 people that die every single day. So if they're not going to put these numbers in perspective here, it means that they're doing a lot of fear-mongering, because most people don't look at it this way. Most people don't go out and buy 3 pounds of rice. Just to put things to scale here. So there's an agenda behind all this. Don't believe the hype. Go outside, get sunlight, enjoy life.
That guy gets it, because rice is something I do completely understand. All right, what are your thoughts on this whole, I heard you talk about like hunt the witch or whatever. How is it, James, just go off. Tell me some stuff. How is this all working? Tell me about the shame with the mask. Tell me about the eyes and the dopamine. Just do your thing, my brother.
So the retina, I can't stress enough how your eyes have 3 different ways of controlling how much light comes in. First is your eyelids, right? You can open and shut your eyes. That's going to be a big controller. Second is the dilation of the pupils, the amount of the aperture of your actual pupil itself. But there's a third way. Most of us don't know on purpose. Most of us don't know this, but when I say all, I mean like most of your dopamine is generated directly in your retinas. So the amount of good chemicals you feel and the amount of constriction from good chemicals you feel is directly tied in to your sight, to what you see. Now, I want you to picture that all around you right now are a bunch of energy and things that are just too scary for you to fathom or see. So scary that your entire endocrine system, your adrenals, get overrun and you enter into shock. You're just like when you feel fear in your skin sometimes. You're trembling, you're burning millions of calories more because you're processing this energy. And your entire system is on full tilt. Scotty in the engine room has turned the warp core up to 100%. Your shields are hot. You cannot live 80 years of your life on full shields at 100% warp core. You're going to break down. You're only going to live a few years if you do that.
Right.
So your body has a necessary throttle inside of it. It's sort of like a clutch, where you're going to push that clutch in just enough to where you can still get around town. You could